Hi there, everybody, and welcome to another broadcast of the Rider Position Fix It show, brought to you by Jumping Instructors Live on Facebook. First of all, before we get started, I want to thank Randy Thompson of Jumping Instructors Live for putting all this together and helping us get everybody on the show and keeping the ball rolling, as it were, to get people on here and sharing all this information. Today we have special guest with us, Meredith Gallagher. Hi, Meredith. How are you doing today?
Thank you.
Mayor. You doing good?
Doing well.
Meredith Gallagher is actively competing at some of the biggest horse shows in North America and is currently working for Jane Fennessy at Carriage Hill Farms in Delray Beach, Florida, where they compete and win at the Winter Equestrian Festival down there. So is it pretty kind of lonely down there now with?
Actually in the last week, as the restrictions have moved back a little bit, it's been a little more fun and we've gotten to get the kids out to the barn a little more. So we're good. The horse show season, we think, is going to crank up and should be back to the new normal, I think. Is that what we're calling it?
I guess so.
New normal.
And also I'd like to introduce co-host Patty Downing-Nygaard. Patty is a USEF Large R judge and has judged at some of the most prestigious shows in North America, including West Palm Beach, Sonoma Horse Park, Pebble Beach, Devon, Harrisburg, Marshall Sterling Finals, Hits Ocala, and the West Coast Pony Finals. How are things on the mountain today?
The mountain is chilly and damp today, and we actually lit the wood stove. It's just weird. But it's good. But life is good. I've been inside all day. I've been lazy.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So on the Rider Position Fix It show, we discussed your riding position and give you exercises to help you improve your riding or riding of your students or yourself. And I want to know, are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
You ready to go? And if you want to get involved, ask questions. We welcome any questions and comments that you have. And if you know somebody who should be here watching or you want to share this information with, please share it, comment, tag them, get them here. We'd love to see them and get comments from them. All right.
Absolutely.
Now,
Let's do it.
So we're going to start off with, are you centered over your leg?
All right. Oh boy, I thought we were starting with the picture. Are we starting just talking?
So which picture would you like?
The bay horse, the first
Okay,
one.
the big bay horse. Okay.
Yeah, so we're talking about this, and Meredith got one of her students to allow us to use her photograph, and it's over a huge jump.
It's a picture of Erica Jacobson and USA Normandy over a 1.40 m or 1.45 m oxer. I'm not sure what class it was. But I chose it because I just thought at this level it's a large jump, but the horse's arc is correct, knees are square, very attentive, and then when you look back at the rider, her giving a nice release, her eyes up, and then we're talking about being centered over her leg, her hip angle is right, or her hip is right over her heel. And then she stays tall in her body, looking straight ahead. So I just thought it was a good example of proper equitation being used at the large jump height.
So you think this is what we're aiming for?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
And it's lovely. I mean, she looks so soft and going with everything. And that's what you say, like 4.5 feet, 1.45 m.
Yeah. Right. It's a big jump. Yeah. And she's right there with it. She's not laying on the neck, and I could maybe be a little picky and think her ankle could be down a shade, but I mean, that's a minimal amount. Otherwise, it's a beautiful, beautiful picture. And I love her release, and her arms are soft, and I've watched her ride. She rides great, but she is soft. And it's a big jump. And you jump down there to a 1.45 m oxer. It's a big jump to jump. So she's right there in the middle, and she's an amateur, right, Mare?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's an amateur, and she looks as good as you can get, I think.
Yeah, I think
it's a great photo.
I think just before, there's another photo that I think we're going to use next. And before we talk about that one, what I see here is I like how her hip is still over the seat of the saddle. I think one of the
Yes.
habits we all fall into, myself included, is getting out in front of that pommel. Yeah, there you go. I knew we.
There you go. You're absolutely right, Maren. Your pelvis gets in front of the pommel, and it just puts you in a bad place when you land. It's not such a horrible place in the air, but it will fling you backwards.
So
Yeah,
keeping your
land,
seat over top of the seat of the saddle.
correct.
right, which is hard
Yeah.
to do.
Well,
Correct.
when you're jumping 4.5 feet, I guess it
I
would
think
be.
it's hard to do at any height. I think it's
Yeah.
learning to stay right in the middle and balanced. And I love her weight everywhere it is. It's perfect. I love it.
And I think just that of staying centered over the saddle, and then her proper use of a medium to long crest release, because she's trying to give her horse room to get across the oxer, which I think is nice. I don't remember, but I feel like in this class it was a big oxer to kind of a longer line, so I wouldn't necessarily expect her to have an automatic release or stay connected the way she would in a combination. So I think it's a good use of that release, even though it's over a bigger class. So, alrighty, do we want to look at the little paint pony next?
Yep. Let's look at the little paint pony.
I love it. So, Mayor, how
Yes.
many you guys think you're going to open back up June 1st?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
think it's going to be June 1st, and I think there's going to be 3 weeks of horse showing in Wellington at the Winter Equestrian Facility at Palm Beach International Equestrian Center. So, yeah.
The paint pony.
Isn't that
So-
gorgeous?
Yeah.
I love this picture.
I do too. Laura sent me this a few days ago, and I actually thought it was just great to show after Erica jumping a very large jump, to show this lovely young lady on her great jumping pony. I think their styles is very, very similar, right? I mean, her heel is down, the leg, she's up off its neck, she's not laying on its neck. I think for me, the only thing I would want to see is just, I think if she opens her shoulders, opens her chest, her head will lift a little bit, and then her back will become a little flatter. So that's the only thing I see, is she just gets a little round in her back and her shoulders. But I think that's a really simple fix. And obviously her position isn't taking away from her pony's jump at all.
Yeah, Mayor, I think you're exactly right. Her base is strong enough and it's in the right place. She could do that.
Yeah.
And and she could just separate just a little bit and sit up a tiny bit.
So you're saying
Exactly.
sit up a little bit here like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little.
Not too much.
No, just a little tiny bit. I think we talked about, I don't know this at all, but I'm wondering if maybe her saddle flap might be getting a little bit, or her seat might be getting a little tight, because the length of it looks correct to me, like when you look at her calf, but her knee is very close to the front of the saddle. And sometimes as the kids grow, they pinch in a little at the knee there, trying to kind of hold that smaller saddle. So that would be something I would look at. It's very hard to tell from the picture. I may be completely incorrect, but it looks like maybe that would help her bring her hip back over the saddle just a little bit. If there was
Hips back over
forward.
the saddle. Yeah.
Just a little bit. And
It's
too,
hard to tell too, because we have the dark background and the dark coat.
Yeah.
So it's hard to actually really see where it is, but.
Well, I think that sometimes too with these pony kids, as you get towards the end of the year and you get towards the stuff, they maybe have grown a little bit, so they're keeping the same saddle. It fits the pony, and maybe it's time. But that's where, again, being very picky. It's a beautiful position. She's right with her pony, and looks like maybe a medium pony, if I had to venture a guess.
I would say
Maybe
so.
a small. Medium, do you think, Mayor?
Yeah, I would think that's
Yeah, a medium height jump. Anyway, but I love her. I think she's great. And I think that was great to compare the two.
Yeah, I really think you see that's the same kind of style from the jump, her eyes up. For me, I love that as a kid, her hands are out there under her chin, and they're not, maybe they could be a little in front of her chin, but I love to see that, because so many want to put their hand back and reach forward over the front of it. So I think this is a really good example of a rider at her level. It's equitation.
Yeah, and Meredith, to follow through, if she had her hip angle open a little bit, her hands would be in front of her chin.
Exactly what I was
Oh,
going to
there's
say.
exactly.
If she was more like this, then
Yeah.
her hands would be
Yeah.
something like that. I mean,
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
yeah.
Cool. Really great.
So when we talk about a release, Meredith, go through the 3 or 4 different releases you'd like to say just quickly.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think mainly the crest release and the automatic release are the ones I would use in general. Shorter crest release, long crest release, or medium, and then the automatic release where you would continue to follow the horse's mouth. So I think both Erica's picture of the big horse and the paint pony demonstrate a good medium to long crest release. I think what we were talking about with the her bringing her chest open, I think if you wanted to use a shorter crest release, it's not so much that you would restrict with your hand, but you bring the body up more, and therefore the hand comes back a little bit. There's not as much room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for a beginner rider, when you say release, you're talking about your hand following the horse's mouth over the top of the jump and going forward. So just so we can clear that up for one of the questions. And yeah, it's like perfect.
Yeah, giving how I was always taught is you're giving the horse room, the head and neck of the horse's room to jump. When I first teach a release to a beginner rider, whether it's an adult or a kid, I always say that the hands have to lead the charge. So the body stays tall, and all you're trying to do is just move that hand maybe 4 or 5 inches. And I always teach them to grab mane, because if they do that properly and then the horse jumps and they lose their balance, the release doesn't finish to the ground. And I think it's almost more important for the horse to have its head and neck to balance on landing, because that's when they use their head and neck to balance. So, and it also teaches the rider how to follow the horse. So the mane is so important. And I know there's a lot of beginners and amateurs out there that don't like doing it. And I might pull my horse's hair, and I'm very mean, and I say it's bad.
Well, we use
It's better to pull on your horse's mane and hair than it is to pull on the mouth.
Yeah.
So keeping your body out of the way by grabbing mane is first steps.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's your crest release, and then the automatic release when you become a little more advanced and you've learned to follow the motion of the horse. It is simply trying to maintain a soft contact, but follow that motion, the balancing gesture of the horse's head. So your hands would go a little wide into the side of the horse's neck, down toward its mouth as it extends its head to jump, and then melt back to the center as you land.
There you go. Perfect. I think
that
answered the question. I like the melt back.
I like the word you said there, melt back. I like that. Melting back to the center of your saddle. That's a good visual to just kind of get back into the proper place.
Yeah.
So how do you, here we go. How do you know if you're centered over your leg? I mean, we kind of touched on that with the 2 riders that we saw. So what are some good exercises to make sure that you are centered over your leg?
Centered over your leg.
Or how do you tell if you're not centered over your leg?
Yeah, I think one of the exercises I use the most, which everybody kind of thinks I'm crazy and it sounds very silly, but is posting at the walk. Because you cannot use the momentum of the horse to stand up and sit down. So what I have,
it's a lot tougher than you think, isn't it?
So my riders at all levels, and what I have them do is you kind of put them in that position. I taught a lesson on Tuesday where I did this. I got the lady on the horse. This is your shoulders. This is your hip. Here's where your knee needs to be. Here's where your heel, your foot. Now I want you to hold it there. We're going to stand all the way up. Hold yourself for a second. You can do it standing still. Have them hold themselves for a second and then have them sit. And what'll happen is if they push their foot forward, what happens? They fall backward. If they stand on their toes and their heel slides back, they fall forward at the top of the post. So I wish I had videoed that to show you.
Oh, it's a great one. And I do that a lot, where to put your leg.
Yeah.
And if your foot, and no, they can't hold on to anything, and their foot goes forward, they fall back, and it shows them right away why that leg has to be there.
And it's great for for like from obviously that's how I teach the young kids starting or the adult amateurs just starting, but it's great to refresh the big act riders and even just to build the muscle and the tone that you need. So, because they'll find, and what I find is as you get where you are aware of the feel of your balance, it's a good exercise to do by yourself, because you'll know when your foot went forward, because you won't feel yourself ease into the saddle. You're going to flop back to the saddle. And you're going to know when your leg goes back, because you're going to tilt and have to grip with your knee to stay upright. So it's real. That's honestly, to keep your leg under you. That's my favorite. I'll do it forever.
And even going from halt to walk, that's a really good test. Yeah. To make sure that your legs are underneath you, because getting the horse going by using your leg, and then having to stay within your balance and with the horse as it shifts forward, it's an excellent exercise.
And any, like, you can use the transitions too in any way that way. Like, I think especially if you build on it with an exercise like you're talking about, moving off from the halt to the walk or the posting at the walk, then the transition becomes the same. If you lean back and pull on your horse's mouth and it kind of falls out from under you, then you didn't hold your leg under you and keep your balance. You fell back behind the motion.
Now, another thing we wanted to talk about, Meredith, I'm not sure if you're ready to go on to this or not, is keys to keeping your hands quiet.
Hey. Yeah, and I think, I know we have another little video coming up where I have one of my little exercises to keeping your hands quiet.
Did you want to do that video now, or did you want to do the other video?
Either one. I'll do my quick little 3 exercises that I use mainly. One of my favorites, and I use this on myself when I had a small hunter for a very long time, is holding the martingale strap with one finger of both hands and jumping a course, because sometimes you have to make the martingale strap a little longer so you actually have the ability to pull back on the reins. But if your reins are the right length and your martingale has maybe 2 or 3 inches of play in it, so you can give and you could slow down, hold that martingale strap and jump a course of 4 or 5 jumps. They don't have to be big. But what it'll show you is when you are using the horse's mouth for balance, because when you pull on your horse's face, what does it do? It twists, it gives, all of that. But when you pull on the martingale strap, the horse can maintain its straightness. So to keep my hands quiet, and I did this before the big derby, the last big derby I did, I jumped a whole course holding the martingale strap. And it just really shows you when you lose balance of your body and when you start to move your hands to fix something. So it's, again, for me, fixing position is making the rider or yourself aware of the problems. So that's my number one.
I love it. Wait, I'm going to interrupt here for a minute. I love the fact that as a professional,
I was just going to say that
you do the exercises, because the exercises that are classic exercises, they're great. I don't know, Meredith, if you remember this, but we used to do that with Jack all the time. With Tchotchke, we would ride the martingale strap because he didn't like his mouth messed with. And Meredith showed a pony for me, and my friend Alex Showcat showed the pony, and both of them, we'd do that exact same thing. So it's very cool.
And what I love, especially if you have a kid, happens to change distance a lot with a lot of pain, and then all of a sudden the position changes, the body come up, and the horse's stride shortens, and maybe she missed a distance that was going to be accurate. If you're holding that much up, you can't do all the shifting of your body, and the horse is going to stay on the rhythm better, and you sort of train yourself that, wow, I was actually okay. That was a good distance. I was okay, instead of changing the rhythm by just your little hands. Us humans, we like to do everything. But anyway.
We got a bit of an echo going on with you there, Mare. So let's go on to the, if you're ready, to the video of the, I think I got it already queued up here. This one.
Yeah, perfect.
Are you ready for that one? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm just going to play it through.
Okay.
I wish it was bigger.
Yeah.
There you go.
Perfect.
Where is this, Mare?
Actually, this is one Laura sent to me, so I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
who this is, but I liked the little video for a lot of reasons. So thought it was a good one to start with.
Well, it looks like she's got good pace going there.
Hmm?
Looks like she's got a good pace.
Yes. Yeah. I really like this nice little horse here. Look, I don't know it obviously, but it looks like a good adult amateur horse, or maybe a junior children's hunter. Has a nice way of going. It's a good mover. It kind of carries the rhythm the whole way around. Perfect. Cute. So for me, I can talk about it a little bit the way I thought. I always like when, especially with new students, and since I don't know this lady on this horse, but I always like to talk about the good things I saw. And I think on the way to the first jump, this horse and rider show you all the things that they do positively. The horse is very hunter classic. It covers the ground well. It moves well, stays in one rhythm. She gives a nice crest release there, stays up off its back. So to me, that's the best part of the video, and how she holds her balance there. The rider, I love her balance from side to side. You don't see her really leaning one way or the other. She stays pretty centered in the saddle the whole time. I love that. It's somebody's taught her, to keep her heels down and stay in a nice 3-point position throughout the course. So I really like that part of it. I have a few critiques, but I don't know if you ladies want to say anything before I go there.
No, I agree 100% with do your critiques. And
I think that this is a lovely, lovely horse. Just steady pace throughout. Seems to be nice steady pace throughout, and rider's doing a great job up there. But we'd like to hear from you, Meredith.
What I like, if it was a student of mine, what I'd love to see happen next, because I think we all agree the fundamentals are all there and the picture is there. I'd love to see the motion of her body up and down, quiet a little bit. So I actually think I would do a lot of without stirrups, and everybody cringes when I say without stirrups. And for this rider, I don't necessarily think it's to make her stronger, although it will. But even if it's at the sitting trot and the canter, to just get her a little closer, wrap around the horse a little better. Because as the horse goes, I think you notice it gets a little lower and starts to take her a little bit into the last line, she's quite long and she loses her position a little bit. But I think it's a little bit of both. The horse starts to take her a little bit, and although I think the horse is taking her to the correct distance, it probably is a little uncomfortable feeling because she gets a little heavy, I don't know if it's a mare or gelding, but the horse gets a little heavy. So that's where I would start, is just taking that classic position and then trying to make it a little more effective, so she has a broader range than just the nice 3-point that she demonstrates here. So maybe after the outside line, she feels secure enough that she could sit and lift it a little bit and get balance, and then go back to her nice 3-point. That to me would quiet things down a little bit.
so a perfect thing is after the jump, she can lift and balance. So remember, in the corners, you can rebalance your horse if you're in the correct position to do it. Yeah, I think she just needs to just relax her hips a little and close her hip angle a little bit more. Sometimes she's almost standing up with her from her thigh. So exactly what you said. And remember, you can rebalance your horse. So this is a lovely horse, and as we've said, the position is great, and it's the whole overall picture is very nice. It could be just that much better,
right?
And it is just, it's adorable.
And
I want to talk to whoever's farm this is, because you got to take those empty cups off the top of those standards.
Patty, that's my thing. That's my thing. It's funny what your eye goes to, right? Like I said, okay, she's doing a great job. Wait a minute, there's pole. Like they've got this pole. It's down here, right? So
and they have empty cups. So just remember that, because if something happens, you're going to be liable.
I think this rider as well would be one that once she found a little more balance on the flat and relaxation, which I think that's another reason to use without stirrups, not just the strengthening torture that we do to the big equitation riders, but a way of finding balance and relaxing with the horse, feeling its movement a little better. I think after she achieves that, I would do the holding the martingale strap for her. There are just a few places where her arm gets tense. And I think that's what the martingale strap does for you, is it makes you realize that you're getting tense. You relax your whole body, and then the horse actually relaxes better underneath you than it does when you get stiff and lift your hand to slow down.
Is this where you mean, Meredith, for her to sit up and melt back into the tack?
Yes.
This turn here?
Yeah. Just like her hands get up and the mare takes her a little around, or I don't keep calling it a mare, it may not be, but takes her a little around the turn. So I think after that outside line, if she felt a little more confident relaxing and opening her body up and sinking in the tack, then she could let go and they would both agree on the distance here. I think
Right.
the horse is kind of saying, come on, we got to go.
Yeah, right here. She kind of looks like a long spot.
Yeah. And I have to say though, like I actually like that she did not attempt to get ahead there. Like I'd rather her get a little left because she was trying to hold her position than rush because she saw that it was long. The horse actually jumped better for it. So that's my take on it. But I thought it was, like I said, I think it has all the right pictures for, I'm sure, the job that it does. That, 3-foot hunter might have more scope than that, I don't know, but I think it would be lovely if it walked into the ring and I judged it as a children's hunter or an adult hunter.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah.
It's like a perfect thing.
Cool.
Well said. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, really nice.
Yeah. All right.
So thank you so much for sending in this video.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions or comments on it, please put in a comment and we'll get back to you. And I'm sure, Meredith, if you have time, you would offer some other comments to her.
Absolutely. Love to.
Excellent. Okay.
All right. So what else was I supposed to talk about?
Fix your horse's balance with your riding position.
Okay.
And we also have the two hunter pictures.
Yeah, and that's perfect. That's what the two hunter pictures kind of demonstrate, fixing your horse's balance with your position. So.
Okay. So
as Laura's finding those things, I mentioned the jump cups, and you guys, it takes 1 second to pull those pins out or lift the jump cup up and put it on the ground versus somebody falling on them. So you guys, as trainers, be sure that you do that, because it is a nightmare if something goes wrong and somebody, either the horse or the rider, hits the jump cup when there's nothing in it. So just so you can remember, Miss Randy asked me to
remind everybody
about that. So
yeah. So I agree. It is something that takes a minute or two to take off.
Even less.
And it's a lifetime of pain if you don't, and something happens, and it could happen horribly.
And it can happen too. Somebody will say to you, it could happen with the pole and the cup also. However, the pole is going to bounce, and it really won't. It'll be different if the cups are empty. So just kind of remember that. Don't be lazy. Take off the jump cups. So
I think this topic, fix your horse's balance with your riding position. If we kind of discussed a little bit about that when you said with the previous rider on the video that if she would sit up, kind of balance the horse a bit more, melt into the tack. I'm going to start using that now, melt into the tack. As she came around the corner, she may have got a better spot to that one fence. So, and if she were balanced in a more balanced position, that fence may have been better for her.
Yeah, I think what I find along that subject and along fixing your horse's balance with your riding position is, if you're feeling uncomfortable, then the horse probably is too. So if the balance is off, whether in that case the horse's front end had gotten low and you saw her get a little stiff and tight, or if the horse tilts one way and you're trying to counter it, those are the kind of things that I think it does take someone on the ground a lot of times to help you get through those, because you may not feel it, or your interpretation of what's happening may not be correct. Even for myself, again, if it's Jane that's helping me, or Haley, or one of the other riders at the farm, there's a lot of times where they'll hit on something that I haven't felt. So that's a big thing for me, is that, but you can fix things, and they're so simple to fix. But this morning I had a young lady whose horse kept tilting in, and because of it, it kept throwing her off. And when she focused on just fixing the bend, lifting his shoulders, pushing him out with her body, then the distances started coming up for her without her having to work. So I think that's, for me, 90% of it happens in the turns. And when we get desperately seeking the distances instead of thinking about the shape and the position of our horse. So your position you have to get them to mimic your position. But so often what we do is the horse tilts in. So, whoop, okay, I'm going to tilt in. It's hard to train your brain to fix those things.
So it's like taking a step back and thinking of, why is my horse tilting in? It's because I've started. It's that domino effect thing. But I like where you said too, Meredith, that people are fixated on getting the right spot or the right number of strides. They forget about the basics, which is riding in balance, which is going to get you to that right spot.
Right. It's going to fix the distance, and it's going to fix the line, but we start thinking. And so I use this as an example this morning. I tell myself too, no thinking, just riding. You walk in the ring, stop thinking, start riding. So there's
such a feel to it. And once you learn the feel from your trainer, it makes it much easier. And kind of knowing that you can preempt some things, like on not all horses, but on most horses, if as you come to the corner, you step a little bit in the outside stirrup and use your inside calf, you're going to help that fix. And there's some horses that'll make you do the opposite, but you can do that. And it's all about the corners, the turns. It's where everything gets fixed.
Corners.
Yeah.
Everything gets fixed there.
So I saw a question pop up there on the screen about falling forwards. There's another little trick I do. I use it for hands as well, and as well as if you have an inclination to fall forward. And I like it very much. It's using a riding crop as a handlebar. And what I do, I know a lot of trainers do. Hold on, I have something I can use here. A lot of trainers do like this. So sorry,
it's opposite of what you think, Meredith, right?
No, sorry. A lot of trainers use the riding crop like this, where you would put your thumbs on it. I think it's still easy to tilt forward like that, and it's still easy to brace and be rigid. So I think what I use a lot is I actually have them hold the reins like this on the handlebar. So yes, the negative side effect is that you get flat hands, but the elbow stays more relaxed. So for the young lady, or I don't know how old you are, but the rider that just posted that question, I would try that. Just put your handlebar across. The first thing you'll notice is that you have to shorten your reins, because we all can't, because you can't get your hands back in your lap like that. And then start on the flat, but then gradually, as you're comfortable, maybe jump a pole or jump a little cavaletti or something. And what it does is it will make you aware of that tilt, because you can't use your hands for balance anymore. You have to use your hip and your heel. So
excellent. That's a simple,
and the heel, that's a simple one to do.
You can do. Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the picture that she had, which has been like a very common thread through all of these, lower leg was way far back instead of down underneath her. Mm-hmm. So if you can push your foot forward and remember to use your heel like a shock absorber, you can land in your ankle, and that will help you from falling through. So if you can do all of those things, it should help you.
And I think that was something that actually, sorry, I'm going to think of his name. Oh, Andrew Lustig, who was the coach at SCAD when I went to SCAD. One of the first things he talked to me about is that my lower back was weak, and because of that, I would tend to lay forward and my leg would go back. So I did some exercises on my lower back, but what happened is, as soon as the lower back gets a little stronger, the hands come up, the heels go down. So I think it's like what you're saying, Patty, if she combines that idea with the stick exercise, like, I think all of those things will just keep putting her in the correct position. And I feel like for me, if I can do it enough times in the correct position, then it becomes habit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Renee. I think too, we've talked about muscle memory. If you can get yourself in the correct position, then the muscle memory is better. Like riding a bike, like most of us grew up riding bikes. We could get on a bike and ride it. Might not be very pretty for me, but I could. And but the muscle memory reminds you exactly what you need to do. You don't have to think about it. And so the same thing with the riding, or if I get on a horse I haven't ridden in a long time, I put myself in the right position. I may not stay there very long, but I do start off correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have these lovely pictures here.
We can start with the top one if you want to zoom in. This is a young lady that rides with us, Rain Whitman, and her horse, it's Top Delma Set, otherwise known as Topper, because that's a mouthful. But this was actually her first outdoor hunter derby. She did the hunter derby on the grass. So we had some great moments. And as this picture shows, we had some not so fabulous moments. But I wanted to compare and contrast them. Here, she's a little deep, obviously, and the horse wasn't able to get rocked back and jump well. And I know it's not exactly from the side, so it's a little hard to tell. But again, just like Patty commented on the last lady that asked a question, her leg is very far back. And in this picture, her hip comes way up in front of the pommel. And you can also kind of see on her face that, oh, I made a boo-boo. So, but the elbow goes out. And so then why I use this picture is talking about using your position to help correct the horse. So if the opposite had happened, which I think you'll see in the next photo, but if she arrives at that not so perfect deep distance, pushes her heel down, lifts the body up, and stays up off his neck a little bit and gives him a little more room that way, he's going to give her a better jump. This jump, if we're being picky, her leg is still a little far back, but I like everything else so much better. The eyes, the chest is up away from his neck. So to me, that means she gave him a little better position. She gave herself a better position, which gives the horse a little more room.
And a much better jump.
Yeah, and a much better.
Yeah. And in the perfect world, I'd love to see her foot a little more forward. However, everything else is pretty darn nice. So it's good.
So, and what we're on this morning actually, with her was another position fix that I have is riding with 2 sticks. So instead of just carrying one riding prop, you ride with one in each hand. And the goal, whatever small exercise you're doing, is keeping those sticks touching your legs at all time. So what it does, and it's amazing every time I use it with a rider, is when you focus on putting the sticks flat against your leg and holding them there, your hands stay in the correct place. They stay one on each side of the horse's neck. The shoulders then get square, stay one on each side of the horse's neck, and it shifts all the way down, hips, heels. And then if you come from that position, the distances come up, the balance to the jumps comes up much better. I think if you had her
again, another simple exercise that you can do with things that you already have. Ride with
and that's a great
prop in each hand. That's such
you could do that at lots of levels, huh?
Oh yeah, it's great. And it's very hard because what happens, I cannot high enough, but what happens is if you're holding your hand correctly, the elbow stays in, all of that. But the moment we go to turn, what do you do? Like this or like this, the stick moves away. So, but if I do it like this, and I keep that stick in, I don't have all that room to move my body and affect my horse. It's a really good way of keeping yourself centered.
That's a great exercise, Mir.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I used to use it even when I was doing young horses because they're so wiggly and wobbly, and for myself, it would help me teach them about keeping the connection straight to their mouths. It wouldn't allow me to kind of move against them. I had to always stay straight, and it was much more effective at teaching them to go straight than just using their mouths because they're young and they're unbroke. They don't really understand that. So
it also would help keep your hands quieter as well, right? If you're keep the crop next to your thigh,
Yeah.
You have to keep your hands quiet. That's
Yeah.
I love
I've never
that.
seen
It's
that's the first one,
a good
first for
one.
me.
It's
Yes.
one of my favorites. I think we have a video next, but if we get to her, it's another young lady that's ridden with me all of her life. She was at Ridge Point before I moved to Carriage Hill.
We have the person on the
Oh.
fjord pony next.
Okay. But for her, that the stick exercise was great too, because she has a tendency to lean right, and then the horses go right. And by using both a stick in each hand, it actually helped her correct the straightness.
I love that. I love it.
All
That'd be a
right.
good Dara exercise, huh, Meredith?
Yeah, it would be.
It'd be a great one for Dara, yeah.
I know that was what was so hard about this talk. Asking you guys to do this is I have so many like anecdotes and stories, and even like I was thinking about when you and I were working with Harper on her sitting trot, and I suddenly was like, this pony's comfortable. I rode it. Why is this kid having trouble? So I rode in her saddle, and I was like, this is why this kid's having.
Yeah, sometimes you have to do that.
Exactly. As a trainer, I think it is important. Like if you're day in, day out beating your head against the wall with some sort of position fix with a kid, make sure that you sit in their saddle, because I can't count the number of times that I have and been like, oh, that's why. And then sometimes it's very simple fixes. A lot of times now the little pony saddles have blocks that you can move, or they're removable with Velcro. A lot of times just moving them around a little bit and giving the kid a better balance is really helpful.
Because it's frustrating for the kid that's trying really hard, and they can't get it if their equipment doesn't work correctly. Look at the cute fjord. I love fjords. I almost
Now,
had
before
fjords.
we get going, a few people have been asking how they get their position fix-it reviews done. So every Wednesday we do a position fix-it program here at Jumping Instructors Live. And if you'd like to get your picture done, send an email to equestrianslive@gmail.com. Equestrians with an S, equestrianslive@gmail.com. And we'll put you in the queue to have a position review done.
Perfect.
There you go. It's like perfect. So fjords. I love fjords.
Oh, do you?
I was told halflingers were nicer though to deal with on the ground than fjords. So I ended up with the halflingers.
I heard halflingers and fjords were both kind of headstrong.
Well, they're little drafty things. Of course they are. So I love this lady. She's I'm gonna guess an eventer.
Gentleman.
Yeah,
Oh, gentleman. Sorry. I'm gonna guess he's an eventer, maybe, or doing a little baby jumper thing.
In the woods.
In the woods. So I'm thinking eventer.
Yeah.
So it's fun, and so it's that whole thing. It's just there seems to be this common thread, huh, Laura?
Exactly. This is what
lower leg
we
forward.
see.
This is the exact same thing. Mary, what would you do with this guy if he came?
I think it goes to the whole thing. So I personally believe you can kind of you can go from the heel. Okay, your leg has to go forward so your upper body comes up, or okay, maybe your upper body comes up to make your leg go forward. And I think as a trainer, watch him and talk to him and decide which example makes him more comfortable. Like, so obviously we both agree we want his leg to come more forward. We'd like him to open up his hip angle a little bit, get a little taller. I think if that happened, then his arm would be free to go a little more forward. But I think for the cross country, the thing that I do like is that it does appear that his hips are back over the seat.
Yes.
I think that's important if you're going to ride cross country, whether it be eventing or fox hunting or something. I'd rather see that where she's maybe a little too close to the horse's neck, but his hip is back. It looks to me like this horse, I don't know if it's a young horse or maybe it's new to doing this, but it seems to have shifted very far to the right, huh?
Yeah, it looks like it has.
Yeah.
Kind of twisting.
Yeah, and I think he's
maybe a deep distance.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah, like maybe it's shifted over to try to create room. So again, like we were talking about the young lady on the hunter in the last picture, I think just thinking a little more about the straightness and staying tall maybe would create him a better distance, and then the horse is going to have more time to get both legs up and be straighter. I think that's, to me, that'd be the first thing we do is work on getting the upper body a little taller, and keeping the horse straight. And I think it would all come together pretty quick.
Exactly. Because look at his ears. He's happy. He likes doing it.
Doesn't
Yeah.
jump. He's just nice.
Yeah, I like it.
The same
It's-
sort of exercises. So this
Same exercises.
person needs to be balanced over top of his leg, and it's a similar sort of thing. Get him in a 2-point and practice keeping your balance over top of his leg.
Yeah, for sure.
Keeping the balance over the middle of the horse, whether it's an X or a 5-foot jump. It
So-
doesn't matter. It's the same.
Yeah, and I think I might go right back to our posting at the lock exercise, huh? Like, see if he can hold his balance that way.
Right. And to remember, if you stand up, like you said, Mary, you stand up, put your arms out to the side. The trainer holds your horse's head and get in 2-point. Put your hands out to the side, push your feet forward, see where you go. Push your feet backwards, see where you go. You'll fall forward and then you'll fall backwards. And as soon as you know that, it should help you understand why your leg needs to be there. We need to, as instructors, and we try to have the instructors that do this on this program, you need to tell, I hate that. In the perfect world, you should tell your person how to do it and why you do it, or why you do it and how you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you know the reason why, that's halfway to there, right? Right. And why is my horse doing this? Well, it's because I'm doing something to make that happen. I think of it as the domino effect.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
why is the most important thing for me? And for me, as a rider, the why and the how, if you're teaching me and you're not giving those things, that it's one of the most frustrating things. And when I see my riders get frustrated, it's the first thing I do. Wait, slow down. Let's talk about why this is happening or how we're going to fix it, because I understand their frustration. A lot of trainers will get upset. You're not listening to me. You're not doing what I'm saying. And maybe they aren't. You might absolutely be right, but they're frustrated too. So look at the whys and the hows and see if you can come up with a better solution.
Exactly.
Okay.
sure.
So Meredith, we have the video there that you sent.
Okay.
Are you ready for that one?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We'll get it. It'll be perfect.
Yeah. And I saw a question pop up there from somebody I know. So if I don't get to that question, I will answer you, Jennifer.
Well, what was the question? Because
Yeah. Lots of time my horse jumps big and I get out of position and it's hard to get back in position. So I know Jennifer and her daughter Belle. I'm not sure who's asking this question, but one of them. I think that depends on the situation. But I think if you're getting jumped loose from a big jump, it's honestly because you're a little stiff. I find most times when you're a little stiff and then the horse jumps, everything goes like this. If you're a little more relaxed, maybe
melt into the tack.
Yeah, melt into the tack. Maybe hold the mane, get comfortable, pushing the heel down and not trying to hold on so tight. Just melting and relaxing, using the mane for your support and thinking about keeping your heels down. I think that's where I would start.
Good.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So are you going to walk us through this one?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
This young lady, I think, was 14 or maybe just turned 15. She's doing the Taylor Harris Equitation at WEF, and it's 3-foot height jumps. Our plan was to go forward and straight to the first jump, as I thought she accomplished nicely. The horse tilts in a little in this turn. That is a fix in a minute. I loved what she did there because she knew it was coming up long and weak, and all she could do is hold her position. So I really liked that she did that. Very tall and straight here. Just kind of watching to refresh my memory again. She's patient here, which was a little hard out of that short corner. A lot of kids wanted to rush.
And again, she lets it lean a little in the corners, huh, Mare?
Mhm.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So.
and it really shows up on the vertical. By the way,
Yeah.
people watching, this is Palm Beach. This is the showgrounds at Palm Beach. So
And so a little over the deep, almost I would call a chip to the last, but she scored a 79. So they liked her, but with the tilting in the turns and the deep to the last jump or little chippage to the last jump, I think that's a problem. So this is the young lady I was talking about earlier that's ridden with me most of her career, Madison Staiano. I know she's watched a few of your guys' videos too.
good.
And here, like, so she has a tendency to tip right. So the horse tips right in.
So it's remembering to step in the outside stirrup a little bit, especially after a jump. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
I think,
that's the one you said she got a little.
yeah, if you pause that a little, we can go back. Yeah. So to me, the reason that this jump comes up long is what we're talking about, that he's tilted on the inside shoulder. But after, like, as a product of what happened, so she let him tip in, the pace didn't stay consistent, and then she saw that long weak one. As that happened, I was very proud of her for not
Panicking.
over-exaggerating that it was like that. Like, you know, she held her body, she kept her hand down on the back side. Even though he shook his head a little, she tried not to, Don would say not to advertise, Don Stewart. He would say, don't advertise that you missed a little there.
Don't advertise. I love it.
Yeah. So could we go back to the beginning of that line, Laura? Because I have
The beginning of the combination?
Yeah, or like the first of the yellow jump. Yeah, somewhere in that turn would be perfect. Yeah. So here the line was very short. So I instructed her to hear a little short release. So this is what I would consider a short crest release. She doesn't give him much room when she jumps, and then she sits and melts into the tack he's a very big strided horse. He walks down the line. So she had to give him a little room to the oxer. So that's an example of, to me, using that short crest release correctly.
Sorry, guys. I had a piece of wood fall out of the wood stove.
That's okay. And then I think, so this is an example of something that the tilting right that the horse and Madison do a little bit is something she struggled with for a long time. Part of it, it's a natural tendency. Her left leg is a little weak. What I've actually done in the last few days is we've made her right stirrup short and her left stirrup long.
So is this the tilting you're talking about?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So to really encourage her to step to the left, but also keeping the right leg strong to push him over. Because I think sometimes she actually tilts more right, trying to push him right, when it really is, like Patty was saying,
Don't drop that tip. That
So
hip
she
over.
collapses through her hip.
Yeah.
We talked about, Laura, what did we talk about the other day about taking a stirrup, one stirrup away?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Randy talked about completely taking the inside stirrup away and make her step out into the left side.
Yeah.
So that you might try that, Mary. We talked about that the other day on one of our shows. It was pretty cool.
And then I think this is actually a little bit the same right drift or tilt problem that happened to her here, because he bulges to the right. So instead of now tipping right, he bulges right, and she just didn't believe she could keep going forward to the other one. I think I might be biased. She's my godchild, but I think if we get that right side fixed a little bit, then she's going to really come together quite well.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great idea. And she is a bit collapsed over her left leg with her left seat bone. So and so it's just kind of one of those things. She just needs to step onto that left side and do that. And have you ridden in her saddle, Mare?
I have. In all of her saddles.
All of her saddles. Good. Yeah, it's a pretty picture. Mare, thank you so much. You did such a good job yet again. We love having you on here. It's like perfect.
It's excellent.
It's perfect.
Yes.
It's perfect. Yeah. We're all looking for. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we're getting close on time. If you have any questions, and again, please share this video for people that you think should be watching it, and all your friends, because we love to get more questions. We love to get more comments. Visit Jumping Instructors Live to see the replay of this video. And if you have any questions for Meredith or Patty or myself, we'd love to hear from you as well. And any last bits of advice? Melting.
Other than if you guys have any more tips for me on my last little rider there, you have at it. I'd love to hear any more things that I can.
I just think it looks like on the left lead,
Mhm.
until you fix her position, maybe a little counter bend off the left lead.
Correct.
So, yeah, so if she
Yeah, I
can
was going
hold
to say more
and keep
outside rein
cantering
and leg.
forward, keep
Mhm.
cantering forward off that outside rein and leg, which would help her right leg too. So, but it looks like you could kind of do that, and that's where we get in between all of that about you want in the perfect world, you want the perfect position and the perfect thing, but some horses, you want the inside bend, you want the bounce, but some horses just don't want to perform as well that way, and you can't keep going forward. So sometimes that little counter bend and move forward when you counter bend,
Yes.
and then hold it all the way there. That's the only thing I can see. Her legs adorable, her hands are great. I've known her kind of off and on since you have. So
That fence.
yeah, I love her
one-
position.
Yeah. But like you say, it's difficult to see the one that she kind of chipped in because the jump standards were in the way. But when she goes around that turn, as what Patty said, keeping the shoulder from bulging by a little counter bending, that would help keep that shoulder in line, and outside leg and rein, right leg and rein on, and keep herself centered over top of her seat and her legs. So that would be helpful.
Okay.
I mean, it's
There you
awesome.
go.
Awesome.
Yeah. This
There
is
you
it
go.
here.
It's pretty cool.
So
She's come to ride with you.
She did the outside rein and leg here to keep the
Yeah.
horse's shoulder in line.
And then kept
And
pressing
then
it
move
to
up
her
just a
outside
little
hand.
bit. It's like she coming away from the end gate is the other thing there, right? Just coming
Yeah.
away from the end gate. There was just
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times, I think this happened, but a lot of times it happens to all riders. Your horses build a little toward the end, and you've been trained to, like we were talking about in the first video, lift and slow down a little bit and get organized. But then that gate pops up, and maybe they've passed the gate 2 or 3 times now, and they set a little more than you expect. And I think then you're afraid to keep riding back up. But it's really, since you feel that settle, you want to maybe put that right leg and that right rein on and say, okay, we got to get up here to the last jump.
Exactly. Because the whole thing when you're in the show ring is to get the best, do the best job you can and get the best, I'm drawing a blank what the word is, show for your horse to be able to do it the very best you can, no matter what's happened, whether all of a sudden they've decided to go left and all of a sudden they've decided to do this. It's feeling that and performance. That would be the word, the best performance.
Jane, what I think a lot is that you're cruise control. And I think that's a really good way of saying it, instead of saying, keep the exact same rhythm, because as we all know, like, the rhythm fluctuates. But if you start with a good rhythm that you like, and maybe it gets you down the first line nice, and then the horse lands and is going fast, then you have to bring it back. Or like what happened to her on the way to the last jump, where the horse fell behind her leg a little bit. And
Exactly.
Back on to keep.
I love it. And so, Miss Mayor, we're going to get you to come back again, and Laura's going to wrap this up for us.
Yeah.
And so much fun to have you here.
We could go on for another hour, right?
Yeah, we could. But we can't.
We should get Meredith come on our Saturday morning show.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay. So we do have another show on Friday, and Friday shows at 1 p.m. Jumping Instructors Live. And again, Monday at 1 p.m. Jumping Instructors Live. Monday at 7:30 p.m. We have the Jay Duke Show. And again, every Wednesday, we will be looking at your photos and discussing rider fixes. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here with us today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for all of your comments. We appreciate your comments. And remember to share. And now go use this stuff.
Exactly. There was a lot of stuff today. It was perfect.
A lot of stuff. So thank you so much. Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you, ladies, for having me.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Meredith, Laura.
Thank you, Patty. And I'm going to close it off now. See ya. Bye.
Bye.